Today we have a very special guest. I say that every week, but the reason why this is a special podcast is because who I've got on is Jermaine D'Vauz. He's an accomplished dancer, performer. He's an actor, but more importantly, he's also a radio host.
Yes.
And so we've got a podcast host and a radio host on today. And we're going to talk the differences and how you got into the entertainment industry and just have a casual yarn. And I've been looking forward to this for a while.
I am, but I'm really nervous as well at the same time because like I just said before, this is like the first time I'm in the interviewees.
Pressure's
seat.
on you
so
now.
The pressure's on me, and I'm going like, it's. I haven't had the time to think of answers or anything like that either. So okay, and see, I can't even operate the mic well as an interviewee. But anyway,
how is it different?
How is it different being the interviewee?
No, just being on a podcast, because this is your first podcast, right?
Yeah. Well, I think in the radio world, what I do, I'm only talking to the mic for like 16 to 20 seconds in between songs and, when we go into ads and things like that as well. So talking for however long we're going to talk for, to me, kind of feels a bit unnatural. And I mean, I do work in the breakfast show environment, but that's more kind of behind the scenes doing video and social media for the breakfast talent. So, but they talk for maybe 4 minutes max and then have to go into a song or go into ads or even like a pre-recorded session. So I guess the whole idea of talking for 30 minutes to an hour, very foreign.
It's foreign, but more and more people, I think, are starting to like the long form, conversational sort of, banter between two people. I think you get to sort of understand a little bit more about where you're coming from, who you are. It surprises me every week how many people listen to. I mean, I'm a nobody, really. No, I mean, especially for people overseas.
True.
I'm really a nobody.
Right.
But yet people will sit down and listen. And I'm thinking, what the hell is wrong with you?
Just listen to two people chat. Yeah, that's about it.
I know. But, since Jermaine's got his radio voice, I've got to sort of deepen my voice now.
Well, see, that's another thing too. It's weird when a mic comes on, all of a sudden it's just like, well, hello, let's have a chat. It automatically goes into that. It's almost like, I guess, if you're a dancer and they just tell you, just hop on the stage for a second, you might hop on stage and not kind of be yourself. Your body turns into like a kind of a dance prepare mode type of thing. So it could be the same, I guess, when the mic is on.
But with this, what tends to happen is after about 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, you tend to forget.
To relax.
And then you just sort of have a chat. I've had people on here that are so nervous to begin with because they don't do any of this.
Sure.
But 20 minutes in, and then an hour goes past, and they're like, "Oh, I could have done another hour."
Well, let's hope that happens. Because the weird thing about this whole thing is probably looking at you face to face, like this close as well.
Bit personal,
yeah. Because usually in the radio environment, it's there's a big desk in between us, or quite a bit of a distance as well. So, or most of the time, I'm alone in the studio. So it's that whole.
Are you?
Yeah, because I do like the music shifts. So it's just me talking to nobody really and saying, this song's up next or this type of stuff is happening. So I'm most of the time alone when I'm on air. So yeah, I think that's probably also the thing that's a little bit different.
It must be hard because you're a people person too.
Yeah, I can be. I mean, the hard thing about it is just you'd want to try to talk to as many people as you can, but deliver it in a way that you're talking to one person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's the kind of the craft that you got to do. So it is hard, but at the same time,
that's what you're trained for.
That's what you train for. Yeah, exactly.
Now, tell me how all that began. What made you head into broadcast?
What made me head into broadcasting? I think it started when I was 12 years old. So you would have probably known, there's a radio station in Perth where there was called Groove 101.7.
Yeah, I love that.
That was a hip hop station. And I mean, I've always been a big music fan and, anything pop culture related. I was just, my brother and I were massive fans of. And, we listened to Groove 101.7 a lot, and then there was an ad saying, if we're looking to have people be part of our team because it's a community radio station. And I just thought, okay, why not? I was 12 years old, and I just thought, let's give it a shot, see what happens. Send an email through, and then they just said, yeah, come along and we'll give you a tour and we'll just see if you want to help out.
That early,
yeah. It was nothing on air. It was just producing. So I was producing one of the weekend shows, and then I just kind of just did that for a bit. Enjoyed it. Went to high school, stopped doing that. And I didn't really see radio until I was probably about 19 years old. I kind of just did other things, more like in the entertainment field. But then the kind of the want to do radio came back when I was finishing up uni, because I was oh gosh, I don't know where to begin. It kind of pops into your life, then pops out, and then comes back in, and comes out. But there were some opportunities that came where I had to be interviewed on radio or co-host a show, and I was like, I kind of like this. So then when I finished up my undergrad, I decided, okay, I think I want to take broadcasting. I think that might be my next step. So I went into a postgraduate broadcasting course, and then it all kind of happened from there. So it's weird. It's kind of like came in my life a little bit, just disappeared, came back in, a few tiny bits there and there, and then now I like doing it.
You've got quite an interesting family. Tell us about, where were you born?
I was born here in Perth. I was born in Subi. My mum is Mauritian. She's from Mauritius. My dad's from Burma.
Right.
So yeah. So we're Burmese, aren't we? We're both Burmese.
Yeah.
There we
are.
Go.
I didn't know. I remember the Mauritian part.
Yes.
And I just kept thinking you were all Mauritian because of Martine.
Yes.
But my uncle turned around when I said that I've got you coming on. He said, D'Vauz is a Burmese name. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
So then I thought, it must be one of your parents is that.
Yeah, my dad.
You have a twin.
Yes.
This is interesting because I had on a guy months and months ago, and we had a long twin talk on the podcast, and I think you commented.
Oh, probably. Okay.
You commented because of the twins, and I was
Yes.
I was just interested on the dynamics of, if you have a twin, do they like the similar things that you like?
Right.
Or?
Yeah. Well, yeah, 100%. So Jesse and I, everything that he's doing, everything that I'm doing, we both have a very similar interest for, and we pretty much do the same thing. Right. The radio side of things, though, I think that's a bit different, because radio, for me, the reason why I do it is not because I have an interest in radio. It's just what we talk about. Like, radio, it's all about, like, the radio station I work at, it's all about music and all about entertainment and talking about songs, and and my other job at that radio station is doing videos and talent stuff. That's the stuff my brother and I like. So we love entertainment, we love pop culture, we love all those things. It's just the delivery of those is where we're different. Right. If that makes sense. So I'm more radio. I like doing film. I like dancing. I love all those types of things. And Jesse, he's more of a film person. He likes film.
Behind the camera?
He loves behind the camera stuff.
Oh,
he loves being that person who's kind of making the films. But his style, the way we have a different type of preference of genre and things like that when it comes to the way we watch films or the way we direct or make those types of things. But overall, the interest in everything is pretty much the same. Like, we can watch the same movies, enjoy the same music. We love the same music. Those things, maybe, if that makes any sense at all.
How did you guys get into dancing together? Because I do know that's where a lot of people know you guys. And you had a claim to fame with one of your videos.
We did, yes. Well, firstly, we just always danced. Like, since we were young, like talking babies, we just were always glued to the TV watching a lot of Michael Jackson and TLC and all that type of stuff. And we're just dancing for family and all those types of stuff. Right. We then did a talent quest at school. And then that's kind of what it was. That's all it was, really. We're just dancing for other people, doing, when you go to those family events, they're like, oh, these kids are doing a floor show, this, all that. That's kind of what we were doing for most of our childhood. And then when we were 18, we decided to film a video of us dancing to a Lady Gaga song. And we were big Lady Gaga fans back then. And we kind of just decided to put it up on social media, sent it to a few of Gaga's people, because we were, fans. We knew we knew Gaga's dancers, her boyfriend, all these people. So we were like, okay, we'll send it to them to see maybe if that's an easier way to kind of get it to Gaga.
How did you know them? Or you knew of them?
We knew of them because we were just fans. Do you know what I mean? So then Gaga's boyfriend at the time, Luke, he saw it, and then he messaged us and said, you guys are great. I'm going to send this to Gaga. So we were like, oh my God, Gaga's going to see this. Was crazy. And we were ecstatic enough about that. And then next minute, she's tweeting the video. So she's putting the video
I saw
up
that tweet.
Yeah. This was...
Well, I saw it today. When I went onto your website today, just to sort of have a refresher, I saw the tweet there.
You know what's a fun fact about that, though, is we posted it on Vimeo, right? So, I mean, every entertainer and I guess film media person knows Vimeo, which is a video service. Because she had a partnership with YouTube, she grabbed the video and uploaded a fake Gaga fan account and put it there.
They did, yeah?
Yeah, or her team did, yeah. So then they uploaded that and tweeted that out, and it went on her Facebook, Twitter, everything like that as well. So from that's when our dance stuff really kind of got shown out to people, and then clubs were asking us to dance, and all these different events and companies were asking us to dance, and that's kind of how we did our dance.
I do remember you saying to me there was a difference in opinion on what you guys should do from then with you and Jessie.
Yes.
What was that?
Well, that's kind of when the differences between me wanting to be the performer happened, and then my brother wanting to be this creator kind of was happening. So I was saying, we probably should start, doing YouTube and, start kind of getting into the social media world, because that's how it happened. That's kind of how the whole thing kind of came out. Let's go into media. Let's really put ourselves out there a bit more. And Jessie was like, no, let's go and make more films, and let's go and make these dance films and all, just being a bit more creative on that side. And that's when we kind of separated a little bit for the first time, and I was going and doing all this media stuff, and he was...
Which is also quite nice.
Yeah.
Because you're both finding your own voice.
Yeah, that's
in your
true.
sort of passions in that way. But I know what you're saying, capitalize on that.
Yeah, I was like, let's take advantage of it now. Do you know what I mean? And I know this is going to sound really, really bad, but I said to him, I was like, we were having this fight one day, and I was like, you wait, someone from Perth is going to make it big on YouTube, and it's not going to be us because you wanted to make these little artsy films, right? And then next minute, there's Troye Sivan just going massive, and... It's years later, and I was like, see what happens here? See what happens if we just stuck to my plan? But
the reason why I asked that is because I know that I used to watch the Les Twins. Yes. The French twin dancers? They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're great.
But I think also because they are twins, there's something that gravitates you towards them.
Yes.
They both look alike, they dress like, street.
Yeah.
They could sort of read each other in the moves as well, which is, I don't know if that sort of helped in their routines.
They have a lot of great energy. And I get what you mean. That twin language, it's not like a telekinetic kind of thing, but we get each other. It's almost like it's kind of that same relationship you have on stage with someone if you can work well with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
You can just feel it. And there'll be times on stage where when we're doing dancing, we'd change up something on stage, just look at each other, and we kind of just know.
Sort of in sync, both of you sort of in sync.
Yeah, where to go. It just kind of, it's this weird kind of energy that is on stage, and that's fun. That's stuff I like. And
what does Jessie do now?
Jessie's a film student now.
Where?
So at ECU.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's on his last semester. He's made some great films. And I don't know, he's working on a film now. He's going to kill me if I don't know exactly what it's about, but it's it's a great it's like a coming of age story. And it involves mirror bowls, and that's a great motif. But he's doing really, really well. He's making some great stuff, and he's written some other stuff. And I've seen the scripts. I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
So both creative, and you have a sister too.
I have a sister.
Is she creative as well?
No, but I have to give her credit because she's the reason why we are creative. Because when we were younger, all she would do is play us Michael Jackson.
Oh, she's old. She's 9
years older. So she played a lot of Michael Jackson, a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows, and that was kind of our childhood, is just watching all those and learning. Well,
it sounds like you've got parents that also have that influence of what they grew up with. Because you got to remember Michael Jackson's from.
Yeah, 80s and 90s. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, when he was the Jackson 5, it's in the 60s. And
so, that's true. I don't think the Jacksons were that big with my mum and dad.
Really?
No, I don't.
So they weren't playing it around the house for your sister to listen to?
No, my sister was the one playing it around. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah. I don't really know much about my sister's kind of childhood when it came to music. And
how old is your sister?
She's 9 years older than me, so she'll be 36.
Right. Okay.
No, 30. Yeah, 36.
Okay.
So yeah, she Yeah, I don't really know her background when it came to entertainment, but I think most of it came from my sister because she looked after us more than my parents were working all the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they were kind of always working and doing their thing, and my sister was the one kind of dressing us up as the Spice Girls when we were little, those types of things. But yeah, that's kind of how our childhood was. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I guess we got a lot of inspiration from that.
I suppose, I mean, with my sister being in the entertainment industry quite young, I don't know if it had an influence in such a way, but I think maybe our passion and love for movies and storytelling, and my mother used to be an avid reader, and she would watch movies too. So there is always that influence coming down.
Yes.
But do you know what's important? What you said earlier is that at 12 years old, you sort of had a feeling, and you went to the radio. And
yes,
do you know there's a saying that everybody at the age of 12 in that year has an insight. It could be a flash or a dream of what it is they are here for. I mean, if you think of all the spiritual leaders, all the great artists like Mozart, even Jesus Christ left home at 12. And,
True.
So at 12 years old, they say that there is a slight insight into your life and what you want, what you're here for. And it's weird because every now and then I hear, I was 12 years old and I did this. And you said that just then.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is what you want to do, but
it's kind of
great job.
It came its way, it came back. Do you know what I mean? Like it was kind of one of those things that was there. Then high school got in the way. Well, it didn't get in the way, but I kind of just was focused on other things.
High school always gets in the way.
Yeah. And then it came back. It's funny you say that because the same time, when I was 12, my brother and I then started making movies together. We were just they were pretty terrible movies, but they were the first time we got to get creative and actually make something out of it that we were sending to people and all those types of things. So it's interesting you say that because that stuff started happening at 12 as well. All the film stuff, like the collaborations.
It's in entertainment somewhere. You've got to be involved in it in one way or another, right?
Yeah.
So you've been in radio, in broadcast for how long
now? For about 4 years.
Oh, so a while.
Yeah. So 4 years. So I graduated from the broadcasting course 2016, and that's when I got my job at Nova.
Where was that?
That was at ECU.
That was ECU.
Yeah, so that's a postgraduate diploma. Right. It's a year. And it's crazy hectic because it's like they just throw you in the deep end for everything you do. Like,
which is good.
Yeah, it's good. It's really, really good. But Jesus Christ, that was so scary.
Were you thinking of just ECU, or did you look at the School of Audio Engineering, SAE, stuff like that?
I looked everywhere. The reason why I chose ECU was because there were so many people at Nova, at all these other places. I'm trying to think of Channel 7, SBS, sure. All these different people. They all said, I did this course and it was hectic.
Oh, good.
And I was already at ECU for my undergrad. So I thought, okay I might give that a shot too. But I did my research around and there's so many, I even went tours around SAE and all that type of stuff as well. So that was pretty cool. But I thought ECU might be the better fit for me.
So in your opinion, in the last, say, 4 years, how has radio and broadcast change? Because I know with the invent of podcasting, like what I'm doing here, that can go out to the world. Has that had an effect at all in broadcast?
Yes. You can see the benefits of how radio is today in those environments, and I see it clearly, and I see all the people who are passionate about it. It's just more me growing up and kind of going, okay, this was my environment before I developed a passion for radio, and this is it now. And these emerging services like Spotify, Apple Music, all these different things are coming in. I think people think that it's threatening radio. I think would you say that's the kind of conversation people are having? Is it threatening or
no? If you are going to keep radio on the track of the old school way,
sure.
But I do know that a lot of radio is moving into podcasting too.
Yes. Okay.
Am I right?
Yeah. No, that's very true. Yeah. Well, I mean, podcasting is a massive market, but one thing that kind of gave me that inspiration to continue on with broadcasting when I did it in my postgrad was actually the fact that Apple did that Beats One service. I'm not sure if you've heard of Beats One. So Beats One is a digital radio station that's 24/7 live. They broadcast worldwide, and it's almost like a Triple J, but on Apple's the music app.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it operates the same way as kind of any other radio station around the world, but it's on Apple's music app, and it's awesome. Like they have all the big name artists, Lady Gaga, who else? I'm trying to think.
So essentially, it's a radio station.
It's a radio
for
station
Apple.
for Apple, yeah, and it's awesome. And that's when the decision for me to go into broadcasting happened. So,
right,
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have the conversation of, is podcasting going to take over radio and all these types of things. Radio has its advantages, right? People love localism. People love the immediate localism as well. Do you know what I mean? And people also, like knowing what they should be listening to as well. I think radio really does that as well. Like, these are the hottest songs right now. Sure. You should give them a listen. So people want to mix that, want that together when they're in their cars, or even some people like to listen to it on their phones or things like that. So I still think there is a future. There is. But I think, just the delivery and the execution of that needs reinventing in a way, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think it's happening. I mean, I think Apple is the great way this is going. Do it through an app. Just make the content really exciting. Add some stuff in that anyone else is doing. The thing is, we're like the users, the consumers, we're in charge now. Do you know what I mean? Right. We choose what we want to hear. We choose the music we want to hear, everything like that. The moment people
the immediacy of it.
Yeah, and the moment people can understand that and know this is what people care about, we can fit that into anything, I think. Anyway.
True. I like how you said it's people still like that local feel to it, I had a Stephen Parry Valentine on last week. Mm-hmm. And he makes a living from YouTube, and he put it in a really good way. He said, look, all it is social media is a new form of the old media. So you've got podcasting, which is like radio.
Yes.
YouTube, which is like television and things like that, and Netflix and all, which is the cinema. Mm-hmm. So it's just how they evolve and how television, how cinema will work with this sort of new format. So I do know some of the big films that are coming out with, I think it was Mulan and James Cameron's films and Avatar. But with Mulan, they were talking about whether they're going to do, instead of they'll do a cinema release, but maybe a paid stream online for something like $26 or whatever. So a family can look at it, which could be actually really good.
True.
But you see, they are evolving.
They're evolving
with the times.
With the times.
Especially with COVID now.
Yes.
In America, I don't know if you can go to the cinemas now. I'm not sure. Maybe.
I don't know about that. But it's funny you say that, because my boss, who kind of
give him a shout out,
Dave McClung, he'll surely be listening to this. I can tell you that. He every single time he listens to any of my radio stuff, my air checks or things like that, he always goes to me, do people care about this, or do people care what you have to say? Do people care what song you're about to say next? Do people care, what you're trying to tell us right now, right? And I think that principle applies to pretty much what we're talking about here of, these new mediums, things like that. So for example, Mulan, right? Mulan, we're going to put that on Disney Plus, charge you a premium. If you really want to see it, then put it on there. Do you know what I mean? It gives the user that freedom to go, well, I really care about, I really want to, I care about watching this movie. I really want to do it. I'm willing to pay the premium to do that. I think that's what is really going to be the guidance towards all these new moves that people make when it comes to the new consuming technologies, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I see it. I think the same thing with the radio. It's simply, if I'm going to listen to radio onto an app, do people care enough to be able to do that, or how can we alter our product to make people care about it, or to suit what people care about? That's
the majority of it, is finding out what people care for.
Yeah.
But also, people have become lazier.
True.
Like, do people wander to their video cabinet to get a DVD?
True.
Put it in the DVD player, push play, or do they just stream it?
Yes.
Even from their phones.
Yes.
And it's a shame, because it's nice to go back to those format. I've still got Laserdisc. I don't know if you know what a Laserdisc is. Yeah, I know a Laserdisc. Yeah. I've got like 100 of them. I tried to sell them on eBay for like $5 each. They were costing me $100 each.
They still look pretty neat. Like, I mean, I can imagine that being the next vinyl. Like, people going to be collecting Laserdiscs.
I took one into film school, and the students were like, what is that? Is that coming out in the future? Because they just thought it was like a
big CD or a big DVD.
Yeah, they thought it was a new format of a DVD. I was like, mate, this is come and gone, you know.
But what you're saying at the same time too, you could apply to cinema. Do you know what I mean? Like
cinema,
yeah. Because again, people don't want to. People choose not to go to the DVDs and to the cabinet because it's a lazy way to do things. But again, if I'm talking about the localism of things, or the whole idea of I can't get that type of feeling or that immediacy from a podcast or that type of thing, I think maybe that's probably the direction we can go. A lot of smart speaker integration now. Who would have thought?
I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah, well, I thought that stuff would come in like way into the future. Do you know what I mean? But just coming in and telling Siri to turn on your lights or to, those types of things, I think that's pretty cool. Well, sorry if anyone has Siri on their podcast.
And my lights are all smart as well.
Okay, right. Okay, so we've got to be careful. We have a code word for these voice assistants.
I love the fact that you can go play 90s hip hop by Tupac Shakur.
Yeah.
Play Biggie Smalls.
Yeah.
Play Elvis Presley, and all the songs, even on Apple TV, you can say all movies directed by Ridley Scott. Everything comes up.
It brings it all up.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy. I love the whole idea of saying to Siri, play something I'd like. You can be really general with it.
I've never done that.
Yeah, and it plays, and like it'll play some stuff that you normally listen to.
So it goes through Apple Music and...
Yeah, it kind of goes through, it doesn't go through your listening history, but it kind of just goes, okay, these are the types of playlists.
That's fucking scary though, Jermaine.
Do you know what? Look, I have to be honest, I grew up posting everything and anything online and social media, things like that.
You grew up in the online world.
Yeah, so for me, those things don't really...
You youngsters.
I know. I'm that type of person that will go, scroll down, yes, and then go, wait, what?
The first time, like my wife and I were talking and suddenly Siri goes, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. And that freaked the shit out of both of us. Well, and then it happened more and more, but it's funny how you just become so complacent, but at the same time, you just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, it's heard, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird, it's a scary thing, but...
It's scary, but I'm the guy that would like have a complete smart home.
Yeah.
Like getting locks for your doors.
Yes.
And being able to, the video doorbells, the smart HomeKit doorbells, that when someone rings the doorbell, the picture comes up on the Samsung fridge.
Yes. Yeah, I get what you mean. Like everything just kind of so interconnected.
And then you can just go HomeKit open, or Siri, open the door, unlock the door, whatever. I'm a sucker for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. You can customize it however you want. You know what I mean? And
again, it's to my laziness, because at the end of the night, I love the fact that I can just say, "Hey Siri, turn off." There goes my phone.
You're going to activate everyone's phone now.
Turn off all my lights.
Sure. Yeah.
Or I didn't know you can actually say, "Hey, it's too bright in this room."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it will darken the light in that room. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, a lot of my friends get really kind of shocked when
paranoid or
no, not paranoid, but
surprised.
They get a little shocked when I tell them. I go, look, you don't have to say play Michael Jackson. It's like you can actually be a bit more casual with your conversation with it. So you can say, "Hey Siri," sorry, I'm going to activate anyone's Siri speaker again.
Actually,
sorry.
That really doesn't though. It
doesn't.
It's when you talk Amazon.
Oh.
When you say Alexa, I think that's, sorry guys for saying Alexa, but Siri is sort of more, I think, to your voice. Like when you said that, it didn't activate my phone.
Okay.
Oh, so when I try and activate my wife's phone, it won't do it.
Yes.
So maybe it's...
that's what it is.
You're a bit safe saying that.
A bit safe. Well, speaking of Siri, okay, it's great. I love using it. It's wonderful. But there were times where Siri has scared the living shit out of me. And it's involving the whole idea of having your whole home connected to Siri. I was sleeping one night, right? And all my lights are connected to Siri. And I was sleeping, and all I heard Siri go, right? And then I was like, okay, that was a bit, whatever. That's just Siri, whatever. I went to sleep. Then my lights turned on, right? And I was like, oh, okay. It's, maybe I've accidentally set a little cue on the home app or whatever. So I went and turned them off, and they turned back on. And I was like, okay, a little scary. And I was like, maybe it's just my Wi-Fi or whatever. So I turned off the router, right? And then that turns off everything. Do you know what I mean? So I have to manually turn it back on.
Yeah.
I went back to sleep, and the lights just kept flashing on and off, like I'd say for about a minute.
Bloody
and
hell.
and that's when I had that slight suspicion that maybe
someone's listening.
Or
screwing with me.
No, I was thinking Supernatural. I was there going, is my apartment haunted? Because I've turned off every single like internet, Wi-Fi router, any sort of connection, then get these lights happening, and it's just turning on and off, on and off, on and off. I didn't sleep the entire night because I was like, I don't know how to deal with these lights.
That would
anymore.
be a good story.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a smart home turning against you?
I think The Simpsons have done that already.
Well, I'm not surprised.
I think Pierce Brosnan
Which is even scarier that The Simpsons do it, because that in 10 years
it's actually going to happen.
Well, I was thinking the other day, with all your locks being integrated,
yes,
could you actually get locked in a house? I know you can still operate it with a key, but I'm talking 10 years from now.
Sure.
There won't be keys. Come on. I mean, look at what's happening with cars now. You don't need a key.
You need a key. That's true. It's very true.
I don't know.
I don't know. Mate. Yeah, I guess. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there has to be some like horror stories that have been, that have already happened.
Black Mirror.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't give them any ideas, because then people are going to not buy any HomeKit stuff, and then you're going to be all one out. But
do you find Siri a little bit dumb compared to Alexa? And
I do. But
Google?
I think
it's because they have that search engine and Alexa.
Yes.
But for the everyday usage of your basic things, playing music, figuring out what's on your calendar, locking, like using HomeKit and stuff like that, it works perfectly.
It works perfectly. Well, see, I used to work at Apple, funny enough, in the retail stores. And I know that was kind of the big thing. Once these big, because Siri was the first one in the game to have this voice assistant stuff. And then Amazon came in and
they're
Google.
Normally the first one in the game.
Yeah, right. But as they were happening, a lot of people were saying the stuff like, I don't use Siri anymore. I use Amazon, Google, all that type of stuff. But really, it's the whole conversation about privacy that is what we were encouraged to talk about.
Apple is probably the best for that.
Because they don't sell your whatever you're asking for and all that type of stuff. And, they can analyze it, though. That's in the little settings bit when you start up your phone. But, they can't sell it to third parties. So there's no third party integration with Siri directly. So that's probably why it's not as smart as, let's say, Google or Alexa or those types of things, because, you can't go, order some toilet paper and have it delivered to me. Like, you can't do those things, because then you're going to have to give that data to a third party. And Apple is so strict about those types of things.
I like the fact that it is, you're a bit more secure with Apple. A bit more secure. You worked with Apple, so I've got two questions for you.
Oh, God. Okay.
Do I buy an Apple HomePod now, or is there a number 2 coming out that you think? Because you hear rumors of a HomePod Mini and a HomePod coming out, but that's been rumors for
a long time. Yeah.
Because I really want to get one. I've got Sonos now and I love it, but I'd love to get a HomePod that I can activate HomeKit with wherever I am in this place. What do you reckon?
Well, I mean, I think the HomePod got released in like 2017, if I'm correct. So it's been a long time. And I don't think a lot of people are buying HomePods, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Really?
Like all the rumors are saying
great,
they sound great, but they're like $500, I think. Well, they're kind of expensive.
They need to come down.
I think I imagine they'd release one soon, but I don't know. Like, I think if they were to make a mini one, they'd brand it as a Beats speaker rather than it being a HomePod Mini or anything like that. Because
do you have one or two?
I have one, just one.
I hear the two when you sync them up. Sounds fantastic.
You can get two. You can kind of get surround sound or whatever they're talking about there. But that being said, I would imagine they're going to do a refresh, because they're focusing so much on the AirPods right now. The AirPods Pro. There's probably another one coming out. They surely would have to then kind of go, okay, well, let's get back into HomePods. But I haven't heard of any rumors or any sort of analysts saying anything about HomePods. I'm not an Apple expert either, let's just say that. But I just wanted to go on rumor blogs, just kind of,
Tim Cook's looking at this on YouTube now, going.
He's there going, okay, yes, let's build a HomePod. We forgot about that. But
okay.
Yes, that's your first question.
Second question, why did you leave Apple?
I left Apple so I could do the postgrad broadcasting course.
Oh, okay. That was the turning point.
That was the turning point. But I'm actually kind of annoyed that I did that, because I didn't realize that at Apple, if you are studying a course that relates to a potential Apple job, they pay your tuition.
No.
Yeah. So, and this postgrad broadcasting course I did, it was just for 1 year.
That's great. Yeah, but the cost.
It was so expensive. And like, I don't know, like if I kind of just did it and then was like, hey, let's try to see if I can get into the Apple Music side of things, and let's see if I can work there. Apple would have covered my entire tuition.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, that's awesome, right? I would have been like, I would have been over the moon, but I was a little pissed off about that because I was just like, I only found that out when I left. I was like, if I knew that, I would have figured out a way to keep working at Apple, do the broadcasting, and then internally make my way through to.
There's a lot of incentives though when you work there, like just getting the discounts. And all of that sort of stuff. Well, I know because we got mutual friends that worked with you at the time.
Did they tell you about the 3-year? Is it the 3-year Mac discount that employee? No. I don't know if they still get it, but it's called the Employee Purchase Plan. I don't know if I'm allowed to share this, but oh well. It's 25% off your Mac plus US $500 off as well. So 25% plus a US $500 off for a Mac. So I saved like about $1,500 on the top spec MacBook Pro that I bought. So that was a pretty good perk that they give you at when you work at Apple. That and all the pro software, so like Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro and all those.
Well, I got all that through education because I was a lecturer at the time.
Oh, there you go.
It wouldn't be like your discount, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, well, there was no discount to that. They were free. So that's the thing. Like that's what happens when you work at Apple. But
but you know people there.
Yeah. You could, they could probably have a few computers free on their Apple ID. You never know.
So you went into broadcast. So moving on.
Yes.
You then went into acting.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Tell me how that evolved and came about.
That was actually such an impulse choice that I made. The reason being was because, there's two reasons why. The first one was simply I started acting training last year, so I was 26, right? And I was getting a little bit, I wouldn't say depressed was the right word, but I was kind of like, I'm not doing everything that I wanted to do when I was a kid. Do you know what I mean? So when I was telling you when I was 12, I was making all these movies with my brother and we were acting in these movies and, kind of learning the whole thing as we kind of grew up. And then I was like, I'm getting a bit depressed because I'm working so hard in this radio environment and I'm doing all this, social media stuff, but I'm just not feeling satisfied. It was just more the fact that I don't think I'm doing everything that the little me wanted to do. So I thought, okay, what's the next thing I want to do? And I was like, I want to kind of act. Do you know what I mean? I've always wanted to direct. My brother and I love the whole directing side of things, but I feel to direct, you got to know how to act. I feel you just got to understand the.
I think it helps. I used to say that to my students. Even if you do a course as an actor, not to become an actor, but to understand that vernacular, that world. Yes. It's all about communication. Like 80% of directing is communicating, or 90%, I'd say. Mm-hmm. So it is worth it to do that.
It's 100% is, and that is what it was when I started training.
Okay.
So I started off with this trainer, this mentor. His name's Jeremy Levi. He does Actors Management Australia. He was great. He was kind of my entry into it, and he was great because It's interesting because when my brother and I were dancing and we were doing all this other stuff as kids, the focus is so much on making things perfect, right? You want to make it the perfect shot, the perfect angle. You want to do the perfect dance moves, everything like that, and everything needs to be great. But in acting, it's actually not like that at all.
You've got to really let go.
You've got to let go and you've got to relax. And there's so much detail and importance in simplicity. Do you know what I mean?
So the process was very different.
So different. Do you know what I mean? So I remember the first acting class, I remember to this day, he was just like, I want you to have your backpack on, walk in, you had a really hard day, someone screwed you at work. Someone screwed you over at work.
And screwed you.
Yeah, you can
if you're lucky. If you're lucky.
Yeah. That's it wasn't what it was, but it would have been a very interesting class if that was the case. And he goes, you're going to sit there and you're just going to think about it. That's all you're going to do. You're going to sit there and the audience wants to know exactly what happened.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, yeah, I've got this. So I walk in with my backpack on and go in, and I'm all about melodrama here. I'm just, throwing the backpack, taking off the jacket, just all the sighs and the rolling of the eyes. I collapse into the chair and I'm just thinking about the whole day and being so melodramatic about it. And he's like, okay. And he got me to watch it. And he's just like, would someone, what can you read from that if you're an audience, if you're part of the audience? And I was just like, well, someone being very melodramatic. And he goes, okay, do it again. And this time just think it, don't go in.
Isn't it a fantastic learning exercise when you get to view your own performance?
Yeah, exactly. You get to view it. And at the same time too, it was probably one of the first times ever that I wasn't so highly critiquing of myself, if that makes sense, because I think in a dancing radio world, you know, the senses get really heightened, if that makes sense, when everything you watch, and watching the acting side of things and it kind of happening and you're in that emotion, your senses weren't heightened. You're kind of feeling it.
Well, it's interesting to hear like the different, I think it's levels of syntax on how you've prepped for. One is for dancing and how critical you become on the slightest thing.
And being in sync with someone else.
No, but how is that with Jesse, your twin brother?
Yeah.
Did you have like, you know, when one of you screwed up here and there? It's not like that.
No, it wasn't really like that. I mean, it's still to this day when we do some dancing stuff, I always go, oh, I screwed up. And I never really look at what Jesse does. And Jesse and I have our strengths. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So Jesse is almost quite precise with his dance moves and he has a lot of strength. With me, I feel like I have the presence on the stage, so I can kind of get the audience to kind of, you know, feel the energy.
You know, I can ring Jesse now.
And he might disagree with you. But so that's the kind of things we focus on. So if we screw up a move, that really doesn't matter. It's just more the overall kind of piece.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So like we were talking, the process of self-critiquing your performance.
Yes, the acting side of things. And you know, honestly, that first class made me go, okay, I feel like I belong here. I feel like this is kind of something that, I mean, I learned something so quickly and the performance changed almost rapidly, instantly, just from him telling me to think.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And but not think as in kind of, you know, think of what you're doing. Think as the character when you go in.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the next performance I did it, and he filmed it, and I was just like, wow, like I feel it. I feel it. You know, as an audience, I feel exactly what's going on. And I know exactly what happened on that day because all I'm doing is just thinking. Do you know what I mean? As the character.
Yeah.
But the importance of letting go. So that happened with Jeremy, and then I discovered your sister, Fern. And then
she's good, huh?
She's fantastic. She is. Wow. There's not many people like her. I can say that.
Yeah.
And I called her, and she then said to me, you know, you need to have done some training. So I was like, okay.
It wasn't because she was Burmese.
No, I didn't know she was Burmese. I didn't know she was Burmese until like 2 classes in.
Oh, really?
And I was scared of her. I was so scared of her.
It's weird when people say that, because you probably heard when Fern was on. She was like,
Yes.
I hear that all the time.
Yes.
But, you know, when you get to know, I think it's just her demeanor sometimes. And she gets so passionate.
She gets very passionate.
You know, if you're not giving the best that you can give, she'll get very passionate. About that.
But what she reminded me of my broadcasting course, because you know, when you're in it for a year, they throw you in the deep end from the very beginning, and to do something like that, you've got to be very stern, very passionate, very, you know, you've got to believe in your students. Do you know what I mean? And maybe I was missing a bit of that. And when I saw Fern, I was scared of her. I was like, this is the person that's right for the job. This is the person that I need, because, you know, if my other broadcasting teacher had that effect to do that, and I'm, you know, doing what I'm doing today, I'm sure Fern, with that level of sternness and passion, she can really help me develop and to understand, you know, what I'm after, you know, which is learning how to act, learning how to direct really as well. So, and that's kind of how the acting journey started.
Is there anything else as a kid that you think I'm gonna have to take that on next?
Yes, directing's one of them for sure.
Oh, really?
Because so my brother and I love making films and, you know, all those types of things. I've always wanted to make music, but I don't know. I've learned the piano, and I don't know. The creative bone in me is not really doing anything there, because I'm, you know, I can play, like I can, well, in some amount of time I can play a song, but I can't create. When it comes to music, but that's one thing I really want to do. I'm trying to think, what else is there? More dancing, more producing shows, like production shows.
Tell me about that, because we haven't covered that yet. You and your brother, or mainly you, produce these quite big shows for the court
clubs,
and,
the court connections, all those things. That was when we were like younger, like 18 to about 22, 23. We got picked up by them from the Lady Gaga stuff.
God, it shows you that how one little video
thing,
or one tweet can change your life.
And the power of influence on social media. That one tweet brought a career for 2 people. Do you know what I mean? Like, how crazy is that? She doesn't even remember that. She's forgotten about it. Do you know what I mean? She's kind of like moving on with her life. She forgot about it like an hour afterwards.
Yeah.
But so we decided to take on more of the dancing stuff, and we just, I mean, it's really not that much to talk about, really. All we did was just go, okay, they want us to do a Lady Gaga show, so we did a Lady Gaga show. I could produce music or edit music, so I was cutting together all these soundtracks and, you know, making live versions of these songs, and then it was just that, then one show after the other, and they saw that we liked Michael Jackson. We were doing Michael Jackson shows. And then we just kind of grew the production shows from there. We kind of understood, okay, we like doing this as a kid, so let's do that in this show. And they loved that. Okay, cool. What stuff did we like doing as kids? We like doing the Smooth Criminal Lane, so let's put that into the show. And you know, and we've got budget, so we can actually make it really happen now. And
how did they do that?
How did they do the Smooth Criminal Lane?
Is that a contraption in like a metal brace in the leg?
No,
because he had that on stage.
It's part of it. So what it is, I'm really excited to get to share with you guys this. So what it is there's these two bolts that come up from the stage, right? Or if you're doing it, you know, in a nightclub, then it's just a wooden kind of plank that has these two bolts coming up, right? Yeah. And it's all the illusion. It's all about the illusion. So you have shoes. And on the shoes on the heel, there's like a little kind of opening for those bolts.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So what you do is you slide your feet into those bolts, right? And all that does is just keeps the feet stuck to the floor, right? But that's not really the illusion. That just creates the look that your feet are on the ground. Then you have those shoes are actually boots, right? And on the boots, the tongue of the shoe is pretty much what holds your entire weight, right? So you've got to strap the tongue of the boot around your legs, and inside the shoe you're lifting your heel. So when you're lifting your heel,
that's the illusion.
That's the illusion. You're leaning against the tongue of the shoe.
Interesting.
And the bolts are holding the shoes down on the ground. So it's really all about your core strength.
Yeah.
So you lean forward, and getting yourself up is the hardest.
Right.
Because you've got to get all that core strength to move yourself back up.
Jermaine, you and your brother would have, because I think your parents are my era.
Yes, kind of. I mean,
because we grew up in the breakdance era.
Yes,
like for
Electric Boogaloo and
when
all that
the
stuff.
dancing came through.
Yes,
because every Saturday I remember we used to go down to Forest Chase here in the city, and the whole place would be cleared, and there would be cardboard everywhere. Okay. Everyone would bring their stereos and ghetto blasters.
Nice.
We used to spend hours just dancing and listening to music. You know, it was this big thing that came through, and so that would have been after your era, but your foundations of dance probably come from
now that you say well, now that you say that, actually my uncle was a break dancer, so he used to do a lot of the Electric Boogaloo, Shalimar, you know those types of things. He was the one who told me that the moonwalk is actually called the backslide. It's not called the moon. It was originally called the backslide. Anyway, so yeah, maybe a bit of the dancing influence came from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really know where the dancing side of it just kind of. I don't really know what kind of sparked it. We just did it when we were really young.
It's interesting when you talk to dancers, though. Fern and I, we worked in New York City for a while, and the guy that was there, one day we found out that he was in Michael Jackson's Bad clip. He was one of the dancers. And so we had a long chat to him about, being on set with Michael Jackson during the Bad time, during that video.
Yes.
But I think that's how, we met. I was teaching a class, you were in the class.
Yes.
And then we found out we were Michael Jackson. We both had grown up with his music. But doesn't that say a lot about how Michael Jackson's music has lasted the test of time, where someone in my generation and someone in your generation can talk about how that music had influenced them in some way or another.
Yeah.
That shows a good, you can go back to things like Stevie Wonder and all those guys. That's when that's when you like Prince, and you know that these guys have a lasting feel with their music, and it still can be enjoyed today. Still today, every wedding plays
The Way You Make Me Feel. They play some sort
Blame
of
It on the Boogie.
Boogie.
And how can you still not rock to Don't Stop Till You Get Enough?
What
rock
a
with you,
tune. Yes. Or when you play Billie Jean, for example. Billie Jean, it's almost like one of those things where the one thing, I was talking to a friend about this actually. When you go to weddings, right, and you go, or any party, right, you can play any song from any artist, and people just kind of, they just dance, all right? They just have a bit of fun in their own style. But then when you put on a Michael Jackson song, you put on Billie Jean, someone
does Motown.
No, but someone there dances like Michael Jackson.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or a bunch of people start dancing
They'll have
like
their
Michael
move
Jackson.
and they'll have that kick and do similar moves.
And that's what I admire about him the most, is that I think out of all the big artists out there, he was the only one who created his own vocabulary of movement.
True.
And even also the way he
Jump on.
Yeah, like, even the way he executes his vocal stuff, like, so I'm trying to explain this in the right way, but you can't get like someone like, I don't know, Usher or Bruno Mars, like these people who have been inspired by him. You look at their stuff and you can see Michael's vocabulary, his language in there. Do you know what I mean? I don't know of any other pop star who's actually created that, because there's before Michael Jackson when no one danced like Michael Jackson, and there's after Michael Jackson where people are dancing like Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
do you get what I mean?
True.
It's almost like, there's tap dancing, there's ballet, there's the Bob Fosse. I guess he's probably one of the few that's created his own language of dance. And there's Michael Jackson. I feel like he had his own genre of dance.
And he came out at the right time with MTV.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he was the first black artist on MTV as well. That was a massive thing.
And you think a generation before me, my sister's generation, grew up with the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
So on TV, there were the Jackson 5 and then the Osmonds.
Yeah.
And you either were in one class or the other.
Yeah, sure.
But that's how many generations now.
Yeah.
So have you seen Leaving Neverland?
Yes, I have. I actually, I'm a massive Michael fan, but I feel like in order to be part of that conversation, you have to watch it to kind of.
Yeah, I didn't watch it for a long time.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I didn't watch it for a long time. Well, but I've always said I keep them in two totally different classes.
Yeah.
Yes, I care about his music. Whatever you say about the man doesn't affect the way I think about his music.
Music is genius.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
I grew up with his music. A lot of my childhood memories have that music playing in the background. That is not going to affect that.
Yes.
So when people sort of go, I don't want to listen to any more music because of the type of man he was, I don't know. I think that's a different way. It's the funny thing is we watched the R. Kelly thing as well, and my wife Jocelyn was like, "Oh, what a prick!" and but the minute it was over, I put on R. Kelly music.
Oh, you did. You sort of piss her off.
Step in the name of love,
God.
and and I was like, yeah, but now you can't say that about Michael Jackson and not say it about R. Kelly.
Yes.
Like, yeah, he's a prick, but his music's pretty damn good. And she's like, yes, but how can you listen knowing that when these girls were locked up, he was making
those hit records, and those songs are probably about them as well.
I know.
No, I get you.
What are your thoughts on that?
On R. Kelly or Leaving Neverland, or the whole conversation in general?
The whole conversation.
Well, it's hard to put Michael in that, because I'm probably, I guess, one of the few people who think otherwise about the documentary.
Oh, well, tell us.
Yes, just because. I mean, like the annoying thing about being a Michael Jackson fan, I guess, when you're growing up in the 2000s, is that you're growing up in the midst of the trial.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yes, you're right.
So when I was younger, that was my MTV, unfortunately, was growing up hearing about Michael Jackson doing this to a kid. And
how
this
interesting.
Person, do you know what I mean?
I just didn't realize. I kept forgetting that's what you grew up in.
That's what I grew up, because and the media world back then.
Sad.
It was really sad. But so I kind of lived through the updates and the people in Michael Jackson's life. See, the thing is, when you're a kid and you're invested into someone, let's say, you're invested to a superhero, you're invested into you're really invested, you're obsessed. Do you know what I mean? So you look into kind of every single bit, right? So I was becoming a bit of a teenager when this was happening. And do we need to stop? Is it going 20?
No,
We're going 27?
no. Keep going.
All right, okay. I was like a teenager, so I was understanding, what was going on wasn't new to me, when it comes to what he was doing, what they were accusing him of doing.
Sure.
But I was growing up understanding the people in Michael Jackson's life and the people who were accusing him. I had a bit more of a devoted interest into that,
right, okay.
into all the different sides. So what I'm hearing in Leaving Neverland, and the stories and all the stuff that they're mentioning in the documentary are actually stories picked up from books, publications that were proven false in court years ago.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? And these things were proven false. And the people who wrote those stories had to flee from the States because they couldn't afford to pay the damages. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's just because I'm a fan who kind of grew up just, kind of...
That's why it's good to get your take.
Yeah, right? So I don't like the idea of abuse and all these things. I'm not someone who likes to call people who put these claims forward as liars and, don't believe claims like that because it's such a touchy and sensitive thing.
It is. But, I had to ask you because I know how much of a fan you are.
Yeah.
Because I'm just either this way or that because I separate the men. I love the artist. I grew up with the music.
Yes.
What he does in his personal life, I don't really care.
Yes.
Really, for me, I don't care.
Sure.
I've got no opinion on whether he did or he didn't. All I know is that, I did shed a tear when he died. I couldn't believe it because it was part of my childhood that went. So for me, it's the music that represented everything for me.
Yes.
So, but it is nice to have like a younger guy who grew up. I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
I just never saw it that way. You grew up in an era of that publicity.
Yeah. But when you think about it this way, if you grew up and you were loving Michael Jackson, he was everything, he was a hero and the whole world loved him. Yeah. Then if the whole world hates him, it kind of influences your decision to hate him as well.
Yeah, but you didn't.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but I didn't because I grew up idolizing during that time. That kind of peak was, it's hard to explain, but I grew up idolizing him at a time when he was kind of experiencing all this adversity.
I don't think there's going to be another person of that level of fame for a long, long time. I mean, you got to remember when he became famous. Mm-hmm. Who else has had that? I mean, even Elvis had that at a later age.
Yes.
And those who have that much fame, we're talking, when I got to meet him in Sydney, it was about 4 months before we had a meeting and the manager turned around to us and said, there's someone coming in with 14 bodyguards. Now, there's only 3 people or one group and 2 people at that time that would have that. One was Madonna. Michael Jackson, and the Spice Girls.
Right. Okay.
So we knew that it wouldn't be a actor because actors, they don't come with 14 bodyguards. Yep. It had to be someone of that level. And it was right. It was Michael Jackson. Mm-hmm. But I was looking at that when his bodyguards were linked around him and people were running and diving over the bodyguards just to touch him. And I'm thinking he's had that since he was, 10?
Yeah, tiny. Yeah.
How could you grow up?
Yeah. It's one of those things. My brother got the same treatment. I told you we met Michael, right? My brother and I?
No.
Oh, Wayne. We met him when we were 3 years old at the Rendezvous Hotel in Scarborough when he came here in 96, right? Wow. It's a long story, but pretty much we were just at the lobby with all these fans. The elevator door opened. He saw us and immediately all the fans just stampeded over us because all the kids were allowed to be at the front of the crowd. And then when he came out, all these fans stampeded over us. And Jesse, I think, got knocked.
Really?
3.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? And people will do anything they can just to even get a glimpse of him. Thankfully, the bodyguards parted the crowd and Michael ran to my brother and I, and we were chatting with him for a bit. Wow. So that was pretty cool. I thought I told you. Okay, anyway, well, there you go. That's my story. But it's one of those things where, I don't know if there's anyone as famous as Michael because I feel the media landscape has kind of evolved. And
well, you have to remember, like Michael Jordan, these guys became bigger than, like Jordan became bigger than the sport.
Yeah,
Michael Jackson was so big, but this is pre-internet days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's okay today for somebody to get, millions and millions of views.
Yes.
But, we only had TV and radio to rely upon.
Yes.
And yet he was so big.
It was huge.
It's a different time today.
I think a lot of it also has to do with the aspiration model of Michael as well. I mean, you think about it, he was a black artist who crossed all these barriers, and became, and also innovated so many platforms. If you think about it, right? Like, he broke the race barrier with MTV. He innovated the music video format. He was a child star, became a massive star, broke records. Worked with Paul McCartney. We keep forgetting about that as well.
That's why he came to Perth. Am I right?
He came to Perth to get the Beatles catalog. That just added to the value too of who he was. But I think people were either, if you weren't in love with Michael Jackson, you wanted to be Michael Jackson. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I think in this day and age, in the Instagram world or in the social media world, the aspiration model is kind of lost a little bit because you can be that person on social media. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like you could be if that guy's hot, you could be hot too. And have everyone see it. Do you know what I mean? I think
it is what you said there. I remember Mike McCall. I think he was a guest on here, and he said the days where you grew up and your idols were posters on your bedroom wall, but that's all they would be.
Yes,
you looked up to them. Today, you can send them a tweet.
Yeah,
they could read look at Lady Gaga.
Look at Lady Gaga. Yeah.
And it's just the world's just become so close in a good way.
Yeah,
I see. I've got a lot of hope for the digital era, social media. A lot of my friends are quite negative towards it, but I always said that social media doesn't make you insecure and an arsehole. It brings out the arsehole and the insecurity that's already there.
It's true.
If you're looking at someone's photos and feeling weirded out about your own life and you start getting depressed, that's not that person's fault. Whether that photo is fake or not, that is you feeling that way because you're looking at somebody else's photo.
It's true. Yeah.
So I really do. I know there can be negatives to it, but I think the positives totally outweigh the negatives.
Yep.
I have parents in their 80s that rely on social media to communicate with other people.
Yes.
Like my dad is 85 and he knows as much about Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. My dad told me about YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Like when it started, my dad said there's this platform coming out called YouTube. So they live their lives today according to that online world. Otherwise, they'd just be two senior citizens living in a house that can only visit friends every now and then.
Yeah.
So I do believe there's a lot of hope. And, there's good to that too.
I think there is. But also at the same time, I do feel...
You do social media.
I do social media for a radio station. So I can kind of see the effects it has. There's people who use it for the good, for a good use, to uplift others. And there are just some people who can use it to really just ruin people's mental health, if that makes sense. I know what you mean though when you're saying, it kind of shows out your insecurities and kind of, it brings out that.
You're talking about trolls that just have got nothing better to do.
Yeah, it would troll, but also people who work in that social media environment too, who like to cause a divide or who like to make you feel shit about about yourself. Do you know what I mean?
People don't do that to you, do they?
No. Well, I mean, I'm sure some people do. I mean, it's just more the whole idea of, I think, when you say it brings out a lot of people's insecurities, right? That creates the level of fakeness that people have on social media to go, look what I have and look what you don't have.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So their self-worth and their status becomes about their followers.
It comes about and the followers internalize that, and either they can be aspired to go ahead and be better,
I see what you're saying.
Or they can go, I feel worthless about this. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
So if we're going to bring it back to, let's say, Michael Jackson in the aspiration model that he was, he always kind of did things that made you go, wow, this guy is a talent. I've never seen anything like this before. Do you know what I mean? So it's always wonderment. It was never a look who I am, look at who you're not. Do you know what I mean?
True.
So I just think if we had a bit more of that kind of aspiration on social media where it's just going, you could be a great influencer that has mansions and all these types of things, but if it doesn't kind of reach that aspiration for someone to be better or do better,
interesting.
That's where I feel the mental health, can kind of, that's where it backfires in a way.
I think that affects a lot of the younger generation too. I think when you get to sort of my age, you don't look for that anymore.
Sure.
You're always looking at people that inspire you rather than, look what this guy's done. Look where he's traveled to. I think it's because also we've got nothing really to prove.
Yes.
As a younger guy, you're still trying to find your voice and trying to be heard amongst this sea, I'm not saying it can't happen to older people, But I agree with what you're saying. That sort of level of aspiration is good.
Yeah, but now you say that too. I do think I do think it's changing though, because look at TikTok, for example, and Reels and all that stuff's coming out, right? That's very entertainment focused. If you think about it, right? It's all like, the dance trends or these funny little acting comedy scenes that happen, and that's actually entertaining people. So I do feel it is kind of changing if you think about it, because, back in the early 2010s, it was all about Instagram and photos and, kind of look where I am, look, I'm traveling, I'm doing, I'm sitting on top of a massive mansion overlooking all these things, right? Now it's a bit more of, I'm in this mansion, but I'm doing a fun little TikTok dance that you can do as well. People are learning, which
is a good thing.
It's kind of like taking me back to my childhood where I watch, a music video on TV and trying to do the choreography.
But perform it. Where does that leave? I mean, I don't know. Like, where does that leave? I can't see myself on TikTok.
Okay.
I mean, it's just I think you've got to be that type of person that would do a performance on something. Where would that leave the older generation?
The older generation, what, when it comes to TikTok? Well,
is TikTok going to be banned?
Well, that's what they're saying. I think Microsoft is in talks of acquiring TikTok. That's been canned.
Well, I think Donald Trump brought down a thing the other day saying that TikTok was something about TikTok not being used in the United States. I think also because they were trying to prove the fact that there were algorithms in there that could leak information.
I don't think that the banning of TikTok is gonna kill that vibe that's going on.
No, well, Reels. Yeah. Tell the audience that.
Oh, Reels. Okay,
tell them about Reels.
Yeah, so it's this new.
It's out now, isn't it?
It's out now. Yeah, I think it just got pushed out this week. Right. It's pretty much Instagram's take on TikTok, where you can upload a short video of. It's just upload short videos, very similar to how TikTok works. People are using it the same way they're using TikTok by doing dance trends and, uploading cooking tutorials, very short bite-sized videos, easy to consume. And it's kind of just what the youth are doing today, right?
But saying that, I would do it if I could use that Reface app that I somebody showed me that app. Yes. And I just couldn't stop laughing.
Yes.
And it wasn't trying to be cool with it. It was like, how stupid. I love the fact that you've got these beautiful women with my face and a goatee.
Face. Yeah.
And a goatee. It made me laugh so much. I just had to share. You did one on The Rock.
I did, yeah. The Rock and there was a J-Lo, I think I did as well. No, Vin Diesel was the one that I did.
Why haven't you done the Michael Jackson one?
I don't think there is a feature yet.
No, there isn't. I thought I'd get you excited about, like, they've got Michael Jackson.
Because I was going to say, well, I'm just going to stop this podcast right now. But that's actually probably, I think, is more concerning than anything else on social media. It's probably, they call them deep fakes.
Deep fakes, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
AI sort of.
Yeah, because that is where I think it can get dangerous.
Well, I can talk through somebody else's face.
Yes.
That's a weird thing.
That is a very weird thing.
Like, I do it with animals and things like that just to have a laugh, to promote the podcast,
Sure.
But even for me to be able to do that.
Yes. It's that. It's also just, if that's the technology that's coming out through social media apps, do you know what I mean? I'm thinking
that's nothing really. Hey?
Yeah. It's kind of just, well, what's next? What's around the corner? Because I know Adobe had this, the editing suite. They had this app that they were, I think, beta testing or introducing or announcing, where you could type a sentence, and as long as you have an existing audio file from someone, you could type it, and then it will have
simulate
that voice, simulate the
tone and pitch.
Yes, and I'm like, that is dangerous, because Wayne, if there's something that you didn't want me, you were trying to get me to say, and I couldn't say it, and you're like, don't worry, I'll just type it in. He wouldn't know. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, so that is what I'm scared about. I'm scared. If that's happening, the deep fakes and all those types of things happening, where you could put any face onto someone, onto something,
and then simulate their voice,
and change the audio, that's where we're kind of going, okay, this is getting a bit dangerous, because it's a bit. I know it's fun and everyone's Rihanna for 2 seconds, but at the same time,
yeah. But then how would you know what's real and what's not? Exactly. I mean, especially for news.
Yes.
I mean, no one will be listening to news anymore.
No one will be listening to news.
Because you don't know what's true and what's not. Even visually, you wouldn't know what's true and what's not.
You wouldn't know what's true. That's it. It's almost like the Milli Vanilli of the 2020s.
I like their music.
Hey, they're good style.
Blame It on the Rain.
Blame It on the Rain that was a bop. That was a good tune. See, that's the stuff I'll grow up listening to. Milli Vanilli and Fraud or not. Okay, that's the only time when I'll be okay with it. With them being a fraud. They're great songs and they're great style. So that's all that matters to me.
That's
Do you
right.
know what I mean?
That's right.
But yeah, I think the deep fake kind of thing is kind of going to that end of
Can you imagine if Milli Vanilli, say that 10 times fast, if they came out today?
Yes.
Can you imagine a program that could simulate completely new people?
Yep.
And have music done for those people and put out there that you wouldn't know are real or not.
You wouldn't know if they're real or not.
I mean, that's just crazy because now we're talking digital character, which they could do now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who knows where it's going to lead to?
There needs to be something kind of. God, I sound like
it's
my
okay
parents.
for porn, just not for music or news.
It's just like, do you see Beyonce's into porn? It's like, what? Nah, it's a deep fake, mate. Sorry. No, but it sounds like her as well. No, but I think there needs to be some sort of, I don't think banning TikTok. I mean, yeah, I can understand. I don't understand Trump, but I can see why he'd want to do that because of China, all those types of things. But really, if we're going to think about it, these are the other things that we've got to have some serious looking into. I think Reface is actually a Chinese app anyway. Is it Chinese or Russian?
Oh, don't tell me that.
I know.
Faces all over there.
Yeah, they're going to know exactly who you are. They're going to deep fake you into some sort of propaganda or something. But I don't know. I'm more concerned about deep fakes than I am with dancing trends and all those types of things.
I think the awareness came out with Obama doing that speech, and it was
yes.
It wasn't him, Who was it? The director of her and
Spike Jonze. Is Spike Jonze?
No, it wasn't Spike Jonze. I can't remember him. He's Key and Peele.
Yeah. Jordan Peele.
Yeah, he did the voice and the speech, but they put Obama's face over it.
Yes.
And you just couldn't, because he could do Obama's voice very well.
Yes.
You couldn't tell. It was. I think that sort of alerted everyone. But the fact that you can just download an app and do it yourself now, it's just insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
For the listeners that don't know, Jermaine was in an ad, and it was his first ad, and it was a very proud moment for everybody that knew him.
A very proud moment, yes.
And it's him winning the lottery and running out of a toilet cubicle, throwing these toilet rolls and giving this stranger a hug. And then I actually saw your Instagram story of it being canned because of this whole COVID thing. And it was ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. This cancel culture is just getting out of hand. Yes. Because, where does it stop? Eventually, everybody's got some dark past in some everyone's got skeletons in their closet. If they're going to keep going, I looked at that. But anyway, I had to laugh because then I saw you put out your story of you doing a speech to the press.
Yeah, I got a lot in trouble for doing that.
Oh, did you?
It's just because, I mean, there was nothing, I don't think there was anything bad about that. But
it was a joke, wasn't it?
It was a joke. It was a joke, but it wasn't probably the smartest thing for me to do because, it was someone made a complaint. Someone genuinely complained.
Oh, really?
Yeah, someone genuinely complained. No, not about my Instagram video, but someone made a genuine complaint about that ad. Do you get what I mean? And I know that it's, whatever, rolling your eyes, whatever. But, I could have been a little bit more sensitive about that complaint as such, I could say. But,
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. Fuck them.
Oh, God. Hey, you're saying that. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying.
No. Seriously, it got more people angry.
Yeah, it did.
Because that segment, it went to another news show. And I sent you that link. And even they were like, this is bloody ridiculous.
It is. I mean, there are so many ads on TV right now. People hugging, holding hands, sharing meals.
Yeah, but Jermaine, they're doing it at least, they didn't come straight from a toilet cubicle like you did.
That's a bit of a different one.
So now, you're this young, good-looking guy that is known for not washing his hands.
And people come up to me, like people that I know, and they go to me, "Hey, aren't you the guy that didn't wash his hands?" I'm like, Or if I walk out, like if I go out and I go to the toilet or whatever, I come back and someone sees me come out of the toilets, they go, "Did you wash your hands?" And I was like, "Oh God, is this going to be my legacy? Is this what people are going to know me as? Is this guy who was part of this cult ad? It's like, that has been cancelled because I didn't wash my hands."
Any publicity is good publicity, Jermaine.
I don't know about that. You can't say that when you work in the media, Wayne, because it's a little bit, there's so many people.
But you're quite
involved.
used to having viral videos. You did a viral video about buying illegal toilet paper.
I forgot about that.
What is it with you and toilet paper?
I don't know what it is. And the funny thing is
they got like 2 million hits in a day or something, doesn't it?
But none of these videos were my idea. It's like I didn't so that there's in case no one knows, but there was a video of me and my friend Sean performing this what looks like a drug deal.
Can I put that on the video now?
Sure.
Okay.
Put it up if you want to.
Okay.
There we go. Here's the video. So that video was my friend Sean. He goes, "Hey, I've got a great idea." Because this was like just as the restrictions were being announced back in March and all these things were going on. So, and the panic buying was happening. So he was like, "We should do a drug deal, but it's toilet paper." And I was like, "That's a great idea. Let's do it." And we did it. We had no intention at all for it to go anywhere. We'll just see what happens. Put it up on the Nova socials. Next minute, it gets like 2.5 million views. It's shared everywhere. People were downloading it and posting it on their own accounts. Do you know what I mean? So that's when you know that a video is quite relatable, quite effective. And I was just like, "Oh, okay, right." And this was filmed after I did the Lotto ad.
Oh,
so this is like because we shot the Lotto ad way before COVID. So I was just like, "Great, I'm the toilet paper guy. That's what people are going to see me as now." And but that was a lot of fun.
I saw a lot of takeoffs after that.
Yes.
People sort of copying that idea and stuff like that. But
I saw a lot of that too. And I was like, well, that's social media for you though. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of just how it happens. That's how TikTok's working now too. You make a song or you do some sort of video. That's up for someone just to take the sound or someone to take the video and then redo it and they get all the praise for it.
Yeah.
But thankfully it didn't happen for that video. But we tried other videos. We're like, "Oh, let's keep going. Let's try it." And it didn't really take off. But that
it must be that, you were talking about the presence thing before, Jermaine.
The presence.
Your presence in front of, you're attracting that.
I think it's the toilet paper. I think it's me and toilet paper. That brings the presence way.
It means you've got to develop your own toilet paper, Jermaine.
That's a great idea. Yes.
The J fill or something.
The J fill. Okay, so there's Sorbent, there's Kleenex. I've got to now think of a Jermaine themed toilet paper brand. Do you know what I mean? Like we've got to kind of think. This could take a while.
Jermaine Soft.
Jermaine. Oh God, we could be called the main paper, or the main.
Jermaine.
The main feel, or you got
to capitalize, Jermaine.
Yeah, the ply guy. There we go. The ply guy.
Sounds painful.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about 3-ply, 2-3-ply.
Oh, I thought plying something out of this person.
No, wait, no. 2 or 3-ply, the ply guy. Okay, well that could be one in the drafts.
So what is next for Jermaine?
What's next?
What's next for Jermaine?
Jeez. You know what? During COVID, during restrictions, my brother was getting a little bit tired of my parents because they were being a little bit too crazy about the panic buying and all that type of stuff. And, you can catch a virus just by holding a shopping bag. So he's decided to stay with me in my apartment for a few days. And for the
This is now?
This is now.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, and this is during a time when I finished doing some ads. I'm currently still doing some stuff on radio. And for like a good 2 or 3 weeks, all we talked about was making a film. That's all we talked about. Because I'd never been that close with my brother in a few years.
Sure.
Where it was just he and I was working from home type of thing, So all we talked about was making a film and going, okay, we should start making stuff together again. Because we danced for a bit. We stopped doing that, and we had a childhood, of course. So I don't know if making a film is the next thing, but it's definitely more things with my brother.
Good.
Because I feel that's where I work best, and I feel that's kind of where more creativity comes.
Sure.
Yeah, it's when you would know that with you and Fern. Like you and Fern, I can see that strong.
Well, if ever you need a hand, I know plenty of people.
Yeah, I
could give you a hand. Seriously.
Why do you think I'm doing this podcast, Wayne?
Yeah.
I'm joking.
User.
I'm joking.
So where can people find you?
Where can people find me? On my socials is where you can find me. So at Jermaine D'Vauz. I don't know if you need to spell it, or you can
I'll
probably
put it in the show notes.
Yeah, you probably can see it from there. You could have seen me on a Lotto ad, but unfortunately that one got canned. So, you'll see me on something soon, hopefully.
Why podcasting's so good is we've been meaning to catch up for a long time.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
And
almost a year, Wayne, I think.
Because we were going to have a dinner and then things, I don't know what happened. So it was nice to just sort of go, come and sit down. We'll have a chat for an hour and a half and catch up. But yet it's going to be broadcast to 26,000 people.
Oh, God. Well, thanks for saying that this late into the conversation. Jeez.
No, thanks so much for coming on, buddy.
My pleasure. Yeah.
I'll get you back again.
Yes.
With the next toilet paper fiasco.
Oh, God.
See you, mate.
See ya.